Certainly. Member Eric Abel?
Here.
Member Angela Birdgaray? Member Judith Gabriel?
Here.
Member Tony Garlex?
Here.
Member Steve Pilcher?
Here.
Member Ben Pengili, he is coming. Member Gar Skip Miller?
Here.
Chair Michael Garcia excused. You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
This item is approval of the agenda. Are there any suggested modifications or additions? Ms. Miller?
I wonder if we should combine some of the discussion. Some of them relate to each other. I'm thinking restricting vehicles on the Asakio Trail relates to signage. Signage also relates to speed limit.
The item
B, C, and
7, so the suggestion is the combined discussion. 7B, C, and F for one topic area. Under 7.
7B, C, and F. It's about motor vehicles on trails, signage, and speed limits.
I second.
Right, I'll move to combine 7B, C, and F.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
One opposed? Anything else to modify on?
So I'll move to approve the amended agenda.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Good. Next item, approval of the minutes of the December 12th, 2024 meeting. Are there any suggested amendments to the minutes? None. There a motion to approve?
I move to approve. Oops, I move to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, minutes are approved. Item 5, communication from the public. I think we have a couple email messages. Everyone get a chance to read those? No, come in.
Mr. Chair, no. Those are submitted via email and we open the floor for people who
Sure.
would like to speak, but limit it for 2 minutes. Thank you. You can ask if there is someone waiting in the Zoom. Leon, is there anyone waiting to speak? Because I cannot see it.
While we're waiting, is there anyone from the public who would like to make any comments?
Can you see the panelists?
Ms. Osola, she has already submitted an email. So I think there's no one from anyone attending via Zoom. Oh, Mr. Bill Adrian raised up his hand, Mr. Chair. I think he wants to talk.
Adrian, have the floor.
I just wanted to greet you and say you're welcome to participate with our Keep Santa Fe Beautiful date of April 12th. I've already talked with Judith, and I think we'll have this BPAC display there.
Okay, does everyone know where that's going to be?
It'll be the Sequoia Trail, basically running from Ashbel Park to Los Hermanos. It'll be the neighborhoods of Casa Alegre, La Seguinta, Sila Rufina, Pueblo Alegre, and any others that use that portion of the trail that's been, I think, referred to as the Ottawa Crossing in the recent MPO survey.
Judith?
Bill, the location of the tables has not been determined yet, right?
I'll be talking with Madame Matisse Bakery. They have an outside patio area. They open at 8 o'clock that morning. They've always in the past have been very agreeable for the neighborhood to meet and gather on the patio. So I think it'd be a nice location for a coffee and a fresh croissant, if nothing else.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Anything else? Oh, man, down there.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question? So this is Zia at Regal Park or Zia and got it. Thank you.
Gabriel?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is at the end of Briante, correct? Oh, so is it a different park than the one that's at the end there?
Thank you, Chair. Um, I'm just curious, can you describe cursorily what specifically is the issue right now? Thank you. Is there a map city has or like, is there a map for everybody to see where the existing open space has been? I live in that area and I know it's loose, so.
Oh, sorry. Technology. Okay. I can send links to the park dedication. I have that. It's hard to read. But you can see it. So if I don't know where to.
Thanks. Can he send them to you? You can send them to us, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening to.
Okay, item 6A is six is communication from other agencies. Item A is safe routes to school. That way. Like Santa Fe. Here.
Hello. Um, so just a few items like Santa Fe. We wanted to thank the committee members as well as Chairman Garcia for being at our winter social, who showed up. That was wonderful. We had a good turnout, about 60 or 70 people, lots of new membership renewals. And we conducted surveys from people for feedback on biking in Santa Fe. So we plan to go through those and see what we can do next. We also have four new board members, so we're looking forward to working with a full board going forward, which is exciting. The main thing that our advocacy committee is working on right now is the state bill, the SB 73, require bicycle stops for safety. I believe Steve Pilcher is going to speak on this, and Lynn Pickard has reached out about a letter of support from BPAC for this bill. It would also be great to get the full governing body's support for this bill. That's something that the statewide coalition we've been working with has gotten from Las Cruces and Albuquerque and other places. So I'm not sure how to go about that process of trying to get a letter of support from the city for this bill. That is something we're interested in. And yeah, that is all I have for now. That's our main thing we're working on. Yeah. If there's any feedback about letter of support.
On SB 73, the last I looked, it's through one committee, but it has another one to go through.
Right. Yeah. It passed unanimously through the first hearing. I believe Tony Gerlitz was there. And so we're trying to get it scheduled for the next committee.
So if we choose to send a letter of support, there's time. So
There is, yeah, I guess. I think sooner would be better because we need to show that there is support in order to get it scheduled and to get it, passed through the Senate and move on to the House. So yeah, the sooner the better in the process of trying to get it passed.
questions for?
Mr. Chair, so how would BPAC draft a letter of support, or has that already been provided for consideration?
Mr. Chair, it's under discussion. So we need to defer the discussion when the item comes
Thank you.
up. Thank you.
That's all I have for now. Thank you.
C, Santa Fe MPO, Leah.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee. Let's see, I have a couple quick updates first. So we are working on the update of our Metropolitan Transportation Plan. As part of that, we're doing a campaign called Let's Talk About Cerritos, where we are in the context of all of the changes that Santa Fe has seen and Cerritos has seen in the past like 150 years. 100 years ago, it was a dirt road. Now thinking into the future, what could it be and what would the community want to see and how could it serve the community better? So we have, we're working with some consultants on this project and we have a survey out. I have some flyers actually I can pass out. I'll do that after, right? Yeah, and I think there will be a few more events throughout the spring. Thanks. Also, we began our bike month. Well, actually, our bike month, though we decided to do 3 months of bike celebrations this year. So we're calling it Santa Fe Bike Summer. We began that planning process yesterday. We met with the stakeholders. I believe Judith is on our list for that. So I know she can help make sure that BPAC is engaged. But we are excited to do 3 months. What happened was over the past several years, the month has just gotten so incredibly packed with events, which is really great. But it does also disperse the available people to attend. And also, I know a lot of people who organize it wanted to support all of the other events more. So we're doing May, June, and July for our Santa Fe Summer of Bike. So stay tuned for more information about that. And those are just some quick updates. And then I also wanted to talk about the Sandoval Montezuma intersection on behalf of Eric Ani, who wasn't able to make it this evening, but he met with the BPAC Technical Review Subcommittee. And we wanted to share some of the thoughts about that. So actually, I just learned from Jennifer why this is coming up again. So the streetlights broke. And the timing is kind of serendipitous because the MPO just finished our traffic signal warrant evaluation to see if a street light is even warranted there, and it's not. So instead of fixing the street lights, the city has decided to move forward with stop signs. And then same time, there is a completed design to make it more, to bring it up to ADA standards to make it more pedestrian friendly. So the city is looking into constructing that for $750,000. There was some discussion about that design and if it is appropriate. We and the BPAC and the MPO think that the design is good. It prioritizes pedestrian safety. And because it subordinates driver movements or causes drivers to slow down. So the stop signs, and then there are bulb outs that come into the intersection, which also minimizes the crossing distance and also will bring it up to ADA standards. So that reduces the amount of time required to cross the intersection for pedestrians. That is a high pedestrian area. And it also improves the visual context. It gives a visual cue to all users that it is an intersection that shares prioritization, demonstrates safety. So just wanted to voice that support and report from the meeting. I'm sure Eric and other members of the subcommittee could say more, but I'll pause there. Any questions? Thanks.
One quick question on, let's talk about Cerritos project. Has the city ever done any road diet projects?
Yes, the city, well, right now, Guadalupe Street is a road diet project. That's a huge one. Siler used to be 4 lanes. Those are the 2 that I know of off the top of my head.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So, yeah, I just want to elaborate. Ben was not able to be there, but Gary, Eric, and Nathan Lemon and I discussed the Montezuma Sandoval intersection. And if this, my understanding is that because of feedback from the bicycling community, that bulb outs make it difficult for bicycles. They kind of squeeze them into traffic. My understanding is that the thought of the public works director is we don't want bulb outs at this intersection. We analyzed the plans and I'm not sure if that's true. This is just third hand for now. We looked at the plans and the four-way stop is a much better way to go through that intersection for both cars and bicycles, and if the bulb outs are included, pedestrians. And so if a four-way stop is part of the revised plan, because I think the current plan has just gutting it out and redoing the signalization, which is probably not cheap, that by putting in four-way stops and leaving the existing pedestrian design with the bulb outs, and doing restriping, getting rid of the left turn lanes and things, the intersection will be improved for all users. That was the thought of the unanimous thought of the technical review subcommittee. And so I'm just not really sure in the process, because I understand there is a currently, established set of plans, but because the signals broke, I think they're going to delete those out according to, according to third-hand information. And Ramella, if you have any context about what the plans of Public Works are in this, that'd be really useful. Thank you.
So the plan set was reviewed by BPAC, the whole BPAC committee I think in late 2020 or early 2021, but most of you were not members yet, but I think except Ben. Oh, you were here too. So not Ben, but Judith. And so BPAC supported the bulb outs and supported the plan set moving forward. However, because of the study done by MPO, that's the conclusion is the traffic signals is not warranted at that location. So they are changing the plans from improving the traffic signals to four-way stops, if I understand it correctly. But the question now is BPAC supporting the bulb outs, and which BPAC in 2021 supported the plan set, including the bulb outs. So
Thanks. So the technical review subcommittee does support the currently designed plans, and replacement of the signals with four-way stops would make the intersection safer for all. So, and I'm not sure, it's not really as an action item, but so if there's no change, then we're all good. Assuming.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item 6D is report Parks and Open Space. Melissa McDonald, the director.
This whole thing going here.
Hi there. Can you hear me? All right. Hello, my name is Melissa McDonald. I'm the Parks and Open Space Division Director, and I have Lawrence Cordova here with me. He is the superintendent of our trails system, and we are making some adjustments to the bollards in the trails. And Ramella asked us to come speak with you about these adjustments. Some of them are going to be existing trails. We're just improving bollards that are broken, but there are a number of places that we want to add bollards. And this is in effort to address some of the issues we've been having with vehicles and ATVs and OTVs getting on the trails. So I think we're going to primarily focus on the new bollards, but if you have questions about some of the existing ones, Lawrence will be able to speak to those. And so I'm going to turn this over to Lawrence, but I'll be here to answer any other questions.
Hi, I'm Lawrence Cordova. How's it going? So we are here to um, add new bollards. Definitely, these bollards that we have existing are too heavy. They fall down. The ones will sit there in place. They'll lay down. You pass through them. You pick them back up. You lock them back up. We're gonna continue this from, we're gonna say Route Trail all the way down to Rabbit Road, all intersections, and we're gonna continue all the way down to Swan Park.
Have some sections here, so if you want to get.
So, this one right here, we're talking about is right here by the rail yard. We don't have an existing bollard here. So we had a lot of problems with cars going right under the underpass and just youngsters getting in there, making a mess and partying down on the bottom. So we definitely want to block that area off. And just leave it for city access only. And so also this one right here, Alta Vista, all the way down to Second Street, we do not have a bollard here as well. So we got people just taking shortcuts. If they need to get out to other sections of town, they just go flying down there in their own vehicle and all that. So we're trying to block this area off as well. This access for bikes and city use as well. And pedestrians. This area, we do have existing bollards here, but we don't have access for our city trucks to cross over intersections. It'll be a lot safer for our city units to have access for any trail maintenance or getting a trailer in there for pickup and any trail use as for the city. St. Mike's and St. Michael's drives as well. We do not have removable bollards here. And if you can see the intersection, we're making it safer for our crew just to make it a straight shot for snow removal, cleanup. Because if not, we would have to cut across on with our machines, make a U-turn there and just make it unsafe for all our city employees and crew members. Same thing here on Seringo Road. These are non-removable bollards. We're trying to make them a lot safer for our crews. Right here, Rodeo as well. This is another section where it does not have any bollards, and it's unsafe for anybody, any pedestrian walking. If anybody just decides to jump on the trail and all but on their UTV, ATVs, any vehicles as well. Yucca Street does not have removable bollards as well. It has bollards, but we cannot access the area to jump on. Camino Carlos Rey has bollards here, but the bollards are so old, it makes it dangerous for pedestrians. Say we have a bunch of pedestrians riding their bike with their dog. The dog will go one way, and we had a issue where the bollard fell onto one of the pedestrians, and we're just trying to make everything safer. So these ones, they lock, and they're either forward or backward bollard where they'll lay down. And the other ones, they're real heavy, probably 80, about 65 pounds, I'll say, where it just makes it a big hazardous and issue with the heavy bollard. Avenida Las Campanas as well, we have no access for hauling in our trailer and removing debris off our trails. Big Sky Road as well. We have a big problem here where it's a big open area. We got a bunch of ATVs that get on the backside of Violinda Park. They try to cut across and go into the mall area. It makes it unsafe because it's a real pedestrian area, and it'll be a big help right there. Pueblo del Sol as well. There's same thing, keep the UTV, ATVs off of our trail. Jaguar as well. We don't have no access for city trucks or our gator to do snow removal and that. It's a solid bollard as well. And this section right here on Jaguar Drive, there's no access for us as well. So it's all blocked off. We can't turn a trailer around in this area. We can't get down it for any services that we need to do on the trail as well. And last but not least is Swan Park. We do have a gate there, but the access for our personal UTV and gator, we need the access to do snow removal, and that's about it.
We do know that there's a pretty severe problem with ATVs at Swan Park, and we're looking at ways to address it, but that's not looking to address all those problems. Do you all have any questions about these locations? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for this information. I have two questions. One is I was confused about the Alta Vista Cordova thing because they are parallel, not perpendicular. So I didn't really understand what I was looking at. So that's my first question. And then the second one is, so these bollards, they will fold down if somebody hits them? Is that what you're saying? I don't understand what they
So
look like.
whenever we need access to them, instead of picking up a heavy bollard and moving them up to the side, these bollards, you unlock them and they'll lay down.
Oh, okay. But if somebody hits it, are we still likely to get injured as you are now with the heavier bollards?
Definitely, but they're not as high. So instead of the bollard being 42 inches, we're going 36.
Okay.
It's not as heavy because the older bollards are made of concrete and they're heavy and you have to lift them out, and they have locks on them. And a lot of times, so people do them for lots of different reasons, opening them up, and they get displaced and the locks get loose and they kind of cause a lot of hazards for people. These are still going to be able to block ATVs from coming in, but they are lighter and they will fold down. So
they're easier for the staff to deal with.
yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
So could we look at that picture of Alta Vista and Cordova again? Because I'm confused about that. Oh, that's
No,
why.
it's actually Cordova Road down to 2nd Street.
It was maybe the first one or one of the first ones. There we are. Okay, can you, because it seems like are you talking about the rail trail crossings where you get on and off the rail trail? Okay.
Right, the arrow is, we have no bollard there at all.
And is that where the state employees parking lot is? Okay, all right. So yeah, that's not Cordova, is it?
So the state employee parking lot is up in the upper right-hand corner.
When the upper right-hand corner, is that the South Capitol Complex large parking lot? And then the one on the bottom left is where Motor Pool parks? I cross here a lot and I'm just having a hard
Sorry.
time.
Yeah, it is Alta Vista.
Okay, so it's the rail trail crossing at Alta Vista. Got it. It's where and it's very close to where the train station is. Got it. Okay.
Misters, yeah. Google Maps calls it Cordova Road, but they also call the Gulf of Mexico. Never mind.
Thank you for clarifying that. Thank you.
So we do have some funds to replace bollards because we've had some issues with the older bollards. So this is an effort to update the bollards that are existing and just also address some of the dangers that are associated with the ATVs and the cars that are going on to these right-of-ways.
Got two questions. One is, how does fire department get onto the trails in the case of a medical emergency?
So the fire department has keys to all our bollards. All of, they can go through them anyway, but yes, they do.
They don't use like a Knox box or that type of system?
I'm sorry?
Knox box where they kind of, you put a key inside a universal Knox box and
I'm not sure that we have those for bollards. We do have those for facilities. We don't have those. Yeah, not for bollards.
my second question is, there was recently some bollards, maybe the county did these on El Camino Real, right where you get off of Agua Fria. Then you had north on up under 599 to get up into Las Campanas. Anyways, those, they put in, whoever did the project, put in new bollards which are significantly bigger in terms of width than the old ones, such that I probably have an inch, maybe 2 inches of clearance on the other side of my handlebars to try to get through there. So I don't know what you're looking at, but that's certainly a concern to bring up as you look at design and implementation of this, to make sure it's possible for bicyclists to get through there without trying to squeeze or have to dismount from their bike and walk through. Great. Eric?
Thanks. On the Acequia Trail, there are a few bollards, and I remember them because of the striping before and around them. There's kind of a yellow line and then a diamond and then a yellow line, which really kind of indicates whoever's blowing through there on a bicycle or that, don't go in the middle. Is striping a part of this process or no?
No funds for that, but
Got
we
it.
certainly will bring that back as we look at other improvements. Yeah. This is
Sure.
really just material replacement, and we've decided to add some additional ones because we've gotten significant calls, but definitely an idea I'll bring back.
Thank you.
Gary, then Tony, or
Mr. Chair, this actually relates to item 7B that we're going to discuss. There has been a problem ongoing for years on the Acequia Trail at Harrison Road. There's a piece of trail that goes between La Cieneguita, Harrison, and people actually drive pickup trucks there. And recently there was a pickup truck being chased by the police that actually used that to evade the police. And I happen to know the person who lives adjacent to that area, and so she sees this all the time. She has asked for bollards, and I've talked with various city staff about it. We've always been shot down, told you can't put a bollard there. And I don't quite understand why not. And it seems like we really need it, especially in light of, this police chase that went bad because of the lack of a bollard.
Yeah, we have heard those complaints as well and have spoken with some of the residents, and we are looking at that location for a bollard.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, that's correct. Yes, yes. This is a temporary situation. We'll have to look at that when the underpass comes in. Yeah.
Angela?
Thanks for this. You don't happen to have photos of bollards or anything in their setting?
We do not have any photos here, but we can send them to you when we get them. We'll send them to you.
I have a question that's not about bollards, but since you folks are both here, it is about the trails. So is it okay to ask a question related to the trails?
Might not have an answer.
Okay. So it's about trash cans on the trails. I have noticed that trash cans on the east side of the Chamisa Trail have been removed over time. So there's only one on the west side. That's correct, right? It's at Yucca, Camino Carlos Rey, Las Campanas, I believe. There used to be one on either side of the road. And I'm wondering why they got removed, because it seems like it would certainly be easy enough to empty 2 trash cans as you're doing one. That means if you're not going to cross the road, you have to cross the road if you want to get rid of stuff. And when I'm running, I pick up garbage a lot and stuff. So I'm just curious about that. And then I have another garbage can question.
We removed 1 trash can on each side because we were getting a lot of illegal dumping. So when we'd have the 2 trash cans, we'd have people just stop on the side of the road, throw their home trash in there, and they would just build up for our guys. They would see us go dump him, and within the next hour or 2, it'd be full again, like if we never even emptied them out.
And they don't do that when there's only one?
They haven't lately.
Oh, well, that's a reasonable explanation. Thank you. So my other question is, I was at the opening back in October of the El Camino new trail, and there were no trash cans there. Going to the opening of El Rincon, Cañada Rincon tomorrow. And I'm wondering if when a trail is built, there can always be trash cans so that the trail doesn't get trashed. I mean, even that day, kids were like throwing their candy wrappers and stuff on the ground. And, when there's trash around, it just doesn't feel as safe or something. I don't know. So I'm just curious about whether that is always the plan to have trash receptacles when there is a new trail.
I'll answer that. I do the trail reviews, so Lawrence doesn't do that. We do the trail reviews, and we do try to account for trash. We have to look at our existing routes and see if we can pick them up, because everything that you add, any feature that you add adds time to our schedules. So we don't want to place a new can if we can't maintain it. And so that's a big factor whenever we do things. Also, we'll build out trails in piecemeal way, like with connectors and such. So we definitely look at that when we're looking at trails, but we don't give every new trail a trash can. I wish we could give everybody trash cans all over the place, because we also pick up litter, and it's a huge help with litter. But we do have to look at it in terms of our staffing, our schedules, our routes. And so that's how those decisions tend to get made. And actually, Ramella's been wonderful about in new projects, having the engineers and the staff that's designing them give us estimates on what this means for our labor right? And so we are looking very, very closely at those things. And we can always put in trash cans should our staffing levels change.
Okay, thank you so much, and thanks for the presentation.
I do have a quick update, which I thought you all might want to know about. We have been working on our critical, we did an assessment of all the trails about 3 years ago, and we've been slowly ticking down on it. And I just thought I'd let you know this year, the trails that we have made improvements on. That's why I got to put my glasses on, going to the eye doctor, and didn't get in until April. So now I have to do this all the time, getting older. But anyway, we have done 4 major trails. We've been working on the rail trail from Cordova to Alta Vista, so 2.9 miles. That received a lot of crack and seal, and we got huge thank yous for that. So that was really needed, and that was our most critical trail. And we've been going down the list in critical order. And this assessment was put together by the Santa Fe Conservation Trust, and so we work very closely with them. The other trail that we've been working on is Arroyo Chamizo. We did 3 miles of that from Siringo to Rodeo, and that was a lot of crack and seal as well. Tierra Contenta from, I'm going to forget the name, but Cesar Chavez School to Swan Park, the little roads there. We did some crack and seal there. And then Nava Ade from Governor Miles Road, and that was, that was 1.9 miles. And then Nava Ade from Governor Miles Road to Rodeo, and that was 0.9 miles. And we still are doing some more trail repairs. We are, a lot of these funds came from ARPA funds and grants. So, we're going to be looking for money, but we're, plugging away and going down the list, and we're ranking these by their assessment. And then we will be working with the Santa Fe Conservation Trust to relook at those. I think it's been about almost 3 years since we did that assessment. So we're going to have them look at it again and do another assessment for us. But yep, we're plugging away. Any questions about those trails?
I had one other question, not about any of those trails in particular, but a couple months ago, we talked a little bit about the possibility of an adopt a trail program. Would that be of help to the parks crews, or is most of the garbage happening around the garbage cans? And
We do actually have some adopt a trail existing now, and yeah, they're a lot of help. A lot of what happens is we'll have homeowners associations who adopt parts of the trail, and they have a lot of energy at first, and then sometimes they decide they don't want to do it. But it's a great help to us, and anyone who wants to adopt a trail, we are happy to plug them in. We're working really closely with the Fat Tire Society and Santa Fe Conservation Trust, and where we're getting the most effort with like adopting trails is in the parks, in the activity parks. And they're fabulous. They're wonderful partners, and we're just doing all kinds of stuff there. We have a lot more to do. We've got a grant coming up, thanks to the MPO. Encouraged us to get an NMDOT grant that we're hopefully going to implement any days at the La Tierra open space. Maintenance is always hard to find money for, so that's always tricky, but we try.
any other questions? Not often get the parks people here.
Thanks very much. One more question, and this is for Lawrence. And Lawrence, do you have the snow removal gear that you think your team needs? I noticed you said you have a gator rather than a toolcat or anything like that. Do you think?
We actually have a toolcat.
Okay, great. And so you've got the equipment that you need to do the maintenance.
We definitely could use another toolcat, but as of right now, we have one and it's doing great.
Great, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item, 6E, Public Safety Committee has not met in 2 months. End of my report. 7A, appointment of Mr. Tim Rogers, a subcommittee member of the Technical Review Committee.
That's you, Mr. Chair. I think. So my understanding is that The technical review subcommittee met and made the recommendation. We are short a member, and so I think it is the chair's decision to make that appointment. I don't know what happens when you're sitting in the big chair.
I don't know, Romello, can I make that appointment as the vice chair, or do we have to wait till? Garcia? So our committee then would subsist of you three gentlemen and Tim, is that correct?
Is Nathan Lemon on the committee, or was he just participating in?
No, he's in the committee. So
Yeah,
each subcommittee can have 4 BPAC members and 3 non-BPAC members. So, but,
think-
oh,
way-
yeah. So we can have, Mr. Tim Rogers.
yeah. And when we discussed it, we all believe that he brings a wealth of experience and would be beneficial to the community. Thanks.
Are there any objections to so making this appointment? Okay, he's appointed. Hopefully he'll see you soon. Okay, excuse me, the next item, all this relates to trail signage, control of vehicles on trails, speed limits on trails. So we've combined 3 different items together so we could have a nice robust discussion without hunting any of it down further down the agenda. So since Gary started off first, we'll let him get going.
So I already referred to the one place that I'm aware of that a bollard is badly needed. They're on the Acequia Trail at Harrison. I sort of feel like I have seen motorized vehicles on every trail I've used. I've seen them on the Acequia Trail, on the River Trail, on the Arroyo Chamiso Trail. I don't recall seeing them on the rail trail, but I don't doubt that they end up there.
What type of motorized vehicle?
I've seen motorcycles. I've seen electric motorcycles, not e-bikes, but motorcycles that are fully electric, sort of homemade even. And I've seen Vespa type scooters. So anywhere a bike can get through, these vehicles can get through. So I don't think there's any physical barrier that we can use to keep them off. But I feel like there should at least be signage at every access point that says no motorized vehicles. Because some people think it's okay. They think, like little Vespa's like a bicycle. In fact, that's what the guy told me when I confronted it. And I've had people who are polite about it, and I've had people who are quite impolite about it. And it can lead to conflict. And I don't know how to enforce something like that. I don't know that it, as a practical matter, it could be enforced, but we at least had signs. I think many people would abide by the signs if they were ignorant of the rule that there are no motorized vehicles. And that also brings up the confusion with e-bikes or e-bikes motorized vehicles. And I think they're not, but I think the sign should say no motorized vehicles, e-bikes okay. And maybe it should say e-bicycles because, like I said, there was a fully motorized, fully electric motorcycle. And I could imagine someone saying, well, this is an e-bike. And I think if it said e-bicycles, it would make the point that a bicycle is something with pedals. This vehicle that I saw did not have pedals. I don't think anyone could make the case that it's an e-bicycle. So, if we had signage that said no motorized vehicles, e-bicycles, okay. And then also it might want to have signage, I don't know if on the same sign or in the same location, about speed limits and about yielding right of way.
It's a good segue into all this work that Tony did. Want to speak to that a little bit, Tony?
No,
the voicemail message knocked over by rapidly bicycling person, and what should we do about it, if anything? Striping the trail signage, I think, is just the way to go. You just Google appropriate bicycle pedestrian signages on trails and see what other cities have done. Less expensive and what I can tell, Google says it's more effective. Support that. Signage on those trails, bollard. So
And I was able to hear back from a few jurisdictions about speed limits, which included that information in the packet. And probably the most robust speed limit thing I came across is deals with City of Spokane, Washington Centennial Trail, but that has a benefit. It's also it's officially a state park facility, and they do have a park ranger. So occasionally they mostly give warnings, but they do have staff on occasion out on that trail. It goes 50 miles long. This whole traversing through Spokane Valley on to the city of Coeur d'Alene in Idaho, northern Idaho. So they use that, and you may recall from some of the other work I did a few months ago, a lot of the cities just use more of the etiquette type signage, a lot of which would seem common with what you found out, Tony, as opposed to speed limit, because it's very difficult to enforce a speed limit. So it's on the other hand, so the question is on a lot of this stuff is one, how, in my mind at least, is how advisory or cajoling should signs being to communicate good trail behavior versus how much would be more in the category of 50-mile-an-hour speed limit. None of this is allowed. None of this, this other thing are allowed. I think that's something definitely we want to discuss.
and Mr. Vice Chair, there's tons of examples. What cities?
So we have partly had this discussion before because it's really a pet peeve of mine that people don't shout a warning. I like the idea of an etiquette focus of sharing the trails, staying to the right, letting people know, and there were some really good examples in here, I think. Because it really seems like it would be way too challenging to enforce a speed limit. And I believe in the e-bike ordinance, it says something like what would be considered reasonable, which is a very different thing for different people. I'm a little disappointed the parks folks left because I'm wondering, I know the park rangers inspect the parks and I don't know what exactly they're looking for, but I was wondering if the park rangers could play a role in some of the trail monitoring or whatever. Probably not, because I know the city is very short-staffed, but I really like the idea of these people right with this one in front of me. It's called a trail user guide, using more gentle language and having it be about courtesy versus enforcement. And also it plays in education. So those are my thoughts.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, Judith, you're talking about page 4 of the, so it indicates, so it has just clear outlines of these are your responsibilities. Yeah. Yeah. And if I may, a large number of these are, some of them are too wordy. I agree with you. This really strikes the right balance. That it just says, hey, here's what you're supposed to do. You're using this trail. So if you're a pedestrian, if you're walking a dog, don't walk across the trail, walk along the trail, And so I think it would be helpful for us to, probably make a recommendation to say, let us consider this type of trail and standardize it across the network here in the city. This type of sign, I'm sorry, and standardize. And I do agree that a speed limit, the enforcement is an issue. If you're trying to, if you're in a car and you're going 40 and a 25, someone is going to be able to detect that you're going, if you're on a trail and you're going 18 instead of 15 and you knock into somebody, how is that going to be proved? So I'm just a little concerned about relying on speed limit, and I think this approach is a little bit better. Thanks.
I agree with Eric largely, but I feel like we could, if we have the legal authority to put signs indicating a speed limit, I'm not so concerned about enforcement. I just think if we had a sign that said speed limit 15, for example, a lot of people would abide by it. It would just tend to get people to ride a little slower, even if it's not legally enforced. At least, you know, you're reminding people in a way, don't ride too fast. I don't know if we have the legal authority. I don't believe there is an ordinance about speed limits on trails. So I don't know that we have any legal authority to enforce it or even to post it. I don't know what the legal implications are. Can we put up a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit sign without having an ordinance?
Just kidding at the bottom. If it's an ordinance, it goes through a rigorous process.
Right.
And the folks who will be asked to enforce it, so you're kind of setting up a liability. You're saying, hey, there's a speed limit. And so that means who is going to enforce that? And if someone exceeds the speed limit, then and knocks into me, I'm going to say, hey, there's a speed limit. Why is this not being enforced? And so there's just a number of cans of worms that it'd be better not to open unless, I think if we incrementally inform folks that think that would be verbal.
Yeah, I agree with that, Eric. There is a very wordy sign here. It's the Tri-County Corridor Trail. Can't pronounce whatever the word is. It's on page 44. And this says slow down and call out when passing. It seems like if you're not passing anybody, say you're the only one on the trail, is it okay to go a little faster? Seems like it would be. So to me, it's more about when you're interacting with another trail user, and some kind of wording like that could be part of our rules or whatever we want to call them. Because I don't think the city attorney is likely to put up a bogus sign in the hopes that it will slow people down. I don't remember the exact dialogue we had when we were working on the e-bike ordinance, but I mean, there was a reason they decided to say what would be reasonable speed versus you can't go faster than 25 miles an hour or whatever. So I do think we could have some language that would educate and hopefully encourage people when they are passing to just take it down a notch.
First, I'd like to thank Romella, if it was you, for putting all these examples on here for us because they're very helpful and eye-catching as well. What is the best action that this? When we say that we recommend site signage be present on all the major city trails. So, and the nuances of the wording and design sure can be worked out. We decide as very much. Happens. These will be on record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that is a really good idea that we make recommendations. I feel like I saw somewhere in here, and maybe somebody can agree if they saw it in here, that then it would be up to BPAC to find funding for signs. Did I see that correctly?
I think when I communicated with the Parks Department, that was the feedback I got.
So
I think
I saw it somewhere when I was reviewing the packet, I thought. Maybe I didn't, but I am concerned that the city does not seem committed to supporting, I mean, this goes back sort of to the maintenance resolution, supporting what is necessary to make our trails and roadways safe and accessible. And it's the city's job to come up with the budget. So my suggestion would be we make a recommendation to put up signs, and that the city find the funding to do it. It's my 2 cents.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yes, I agree that we should recommend, we are a recommending body. We don't really have any power to do much else, but I would suggest that we recommend that the city standardize an educational-based set of signs to be posted on all of the trails in their system, and to develop a plan for implementation so that as funding becomes available, that the highest priority projects, signs are installed. These are not cheap to install. They require, care in where they're going to be installed. But I think that's all we can do. So I would move that that BPAC recommends to the city's public works to develop a small number of signs that are educational in nature, that will encourage safety among the various types of trail users, and request funding for implementation. Is that?
Mr. Chair,
Second.
sorry. Yes.
Second. That was a motion. I second it.
Did you capture that motion? Was it complete sentence?
Well,
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, I just wanted to answer or respond to Member Gabriel's question, how to do this, because in the past, if you can remember, the bike may use full lane signage. It was a resolution that came from BPAC or BTAC at the time, and is enforced because it's a resolution. What the motion is a kinder way to ask Public Works, well, can you do it this way? And if there is funding, can you allocate funding? But what my understanding is, the city traffic engineer, Gene Wolfenberger, is working on standardizing signage. I'm not quite sure if she's working on standardizing trail signage. And if trail signage is in maintenance part of trails and not construction part, like what I do. I am in capital project section. So we design and build trails, and parks and open space maintain the trails. So bollards, signage, they do all those things. So I don't know who. We can make a recommendation, the BPAC can make a motion, and I believe it's a softer way to do this rather than doing this by a resolution, like the bike may use full lane. That's a signage that is enforced.
Mr. Chair, I agree with your point. I think if we were to draft a resolution that essentially, it's a laborious process. However, I think it is something that requires some care. We've had, a series of folks come in and say, I've been run off the trail, I got knocked down. And so I think that it might take a little bit longer to do, but it might have more effect if we were to create a resolution. Perhaps we can move to do this because we're coming up on funding, we're coming up on budget requests. And so perhaps we can, there's no reason we can't do both. So, so we might want to move to recommend, as I probably said much more articulately, make that motion and then consider adopting a resolution that would formalize, it would have some whereas language, whereas we had a number of folks come in who were injured because of reckless trail use. I don't think doing one excludes us from doing the other. And I think it's a really important issue. Sorry, I'm hogging the mic.
Good stuff. And Romella, I think we need some guidance. So how's the best proceed? Solution, whatever it takes for
Since the our traffic engineer is already working on standardizing signage, road signage, and working with land use, because land use code, as you all know, is being updated. But land use code refers to private development, private roads, not public. As Member Abo said, we can make the motion, pass the motion, and let's see what happens if we need to make a resolution, because these are a number of signage. It's not only one signage like bike may use full lane.
Seems to me we should also coordinate this with, there's a Parks Commission. I think we had an individual say he used to be on the Parks Commission. Because we're talking, I mean, it seemed it might be appropriate for BPAC as a committee of citizens to make coordinate with another committee of citizens before this goes forward to the elected officials.
Is there still a Parks Commission? I've never heard of one. I was wondering
This
if that was,
gentleman tonight said he was on it once, but
yeah, I was wondering if it was an old commission.
There is a River and Watershed Commission. Because BTAC was BTAC before, Bicycle and Trails. And we, through amendment, we changed it to Bicycle and Pedestrian. But it doesn't mean that we forgotten trails, because that is used by pedestrian as well. But I don't believe there is a Parks Advisory Committee. There's a River and Watershed Advisory Committee.
thank you. Scratch that idea. Angela, I think you're next.
We can come together, figure this out. I don't just think that's a good idea. Matt, I also wonder if we have a new traffic engineer who seems to be progressive in what she's working on and doing that if we could invite her to a meeting and just let's talk about this. And like, how can it, how can we get this incorporated with what she's doing, get her ideas. That's what I'd like to do. Since the staff's already working on this, that's great. And here we are wanting to, it's signs. So, yeah, let's figure out how we can all work together. So one department doesn't feel, directed to do something. Let's know what we're trying to do. Right, people involved.
Yeah, can the technical review subcommittee work with our traffic engineer?
Mr. Chair Romella, yes, absolutely. And we've had preliminary discussions. I've actually bounced around a few internet resources for available signs from the MUTCD, which doesn't really talk about trails, as well as this document that's now in here. And I think it would be really useful to sit down with Gene and come up with a handful of possible options, just to say, and then we can have some kind of way to determine where they go or rely on her professional expertise. So I'm happy to withdraw my motion, and then we can go ahead after we do a little bit more work and put together a stronger effort.
Are you formally withdrawing your motion then?
Yeah.
I have a question about that. Does it lend a little bit more weight for us to have a recommendation for you to then meet with her about that? Because then it would demonstrate that BPAC thinks this is a good idea. I don't know.
That's fine. When I said, yeah, I wasn't really complete. Yeah, that's something I'd consider, but I don't want to withdraw my motion at this time. I'm happy to go with whatever BPAC decides.
So right now we have a motion and a second on the floor, so we should probably act on that before what the heck we had a motion about. Is everyone clear what the motion was?
Let's hear it again. Let's hear it.
I can't recreate it. No.
Very eloquent.
That's why I can't. Okay, so I move that BPAC
Recommends to City Public Works
BPAC recommends to City Public Works
to
to develop a standardized set of trail safety signs, and develop a mechanism to fund implementation and prioritization of that signage. Yeah, something like that.
Good. Tony,
I have a question. Is the city engineer part of that public works?
Parks is under Public Works, isn't it? Is that correct, Ramella?
Uh,
Parks
it's-
is under Public Works,
Yes.
so they're covered by this motion.
I just want to make sure that's not just implicit, because we just talked about signage for parks and, they maintain the signs. So as long as it's an integrated system, so parks needs to be involved too.
Yes, and I'm not quite sure if Parks and Open Space works with our traffic city engineer. I would think so. But yeah, because our city traffic engineer is working with Mr. Tim Rogers to implement the phase B and C of wayfinding, because I'm just to have 28 projects. I'm managing 28 capital projects. So our traffic engineer is managing his work, is the wayfinding, and that is for roads and trails. So I think she can work with Parks and Open Space Division Director.
That's great. Thank you.
All right, given the length of discussion, let's have a roll call vote. Could, please?
Member Abo,
Yes.
Member Portgray, Member Gabriel,
Yes.
Member Gerlix.
Yes.
Member Pilcher,
Yes.
Member Pengili,
Yes.
Member Schiff Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Next item on is item 7D, a discussion of Miss Arena Sola's bicycle accident. She reached out and contacted me a month or so ago. I think this is basically the same information she presented to us several months ago.
Mr. Chair, do you wish for the IT to accept Miss Osola? I think she's attending the meeting online.
Yes.
I'll just ask the IT.
Did everyone get a chance to read her email? But yeah, it's very unfortunate what's happened to her personally and some other individuals in town. Yes, sir.
While we're waiting for Mr. Sola speech, I wanted to put into the record, and I think the bicycling community feels pretty strongly about this. Mr. Sola is probably one of the most egregious at loss of life in our community, number of instances in our community when the perpetrators have not even been cited, let alone arrested. I doubt there's anything we can do as a committee to that effect, except to express our disappointment, outrage, what have you. May 2024, Luis Quiroz Batista was killed. In June 2023, cyclist was hit on the road. In August of 2023, Nathan Gray was killed on hit and run. In none of those instances is anybody cited, charged, etc. And again, know that there's nothing that this body can do except
Yes. We have Mrs. Sola online.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Would you like to address the committee? Arena?
Miss Osola was promoted as a panelist. Miss Osola?
She's been promoted.
Hello?
Oh, thank you for joining.
Ca-
Would you like to address the committee with your concerns?
I'm sorry. It's the Zoom call is quite difficult to understand and to hear. I can only hear partially of what's being said. Sorry about that. But I guess my main focus, my main comment, and what I would like to be, I would like a main concern to arise with BPAC or within the state of New Mexico is is penalties for individuals that that kill cyclists and innocent cyclists um, that don't have the protection of cars and are killed. And there's because from what I understand, when a car or when a driver, excuse me, when a driver claims that it was an accident that they hit a cyclist, they are let go with no repercussions, no penalties, nothing at all. And so, from people that I have that I actually have learned were killed by motorists, and it's claimed as an accident. There is absolutely no repercussions for this murder, and I would I would like for there to be an increase, a raise, something that causes drivers to think twice, to be more aware when they are driving of the penalties that could occur if they do end up hitting and possibly even killing a cyclist.
Thank you. Is your understanding is that the law to enforce exists, but it's simply not being enforced? Or does there need to be a change in the law?
From my understanding, a change in the law and the penalty, because they are not in place to to show protection.
Judith?
This seems like a major policy issue. And I know the Public Safety Committee rarely meets. This, to me, is a serious public safety issue. I know our police officers are under staffed. When I worked in public health for many years in injury prevention, one of the things that we stopped doing was calling things accidents. They were crashes. Accident implies that it was just a mistake. I do think we could change some of the language when this happens to educate the public that they are crashes or whatever, something that is not an accident. And I also wonder how this can get advanced. I don't know if Bike Santa Fe, who was also interested in policy and advocacy, could help bring this forward, because to me, this seems like a heavy lift, and it's a really important thing that needs to be addressed in our community. And maybe at the state level, maybe we're talking state legislation, in which case, it could take a while. But if the penalties and the charges are not happening, it needs to be changed.
Just a small comment. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just
Go
going
ahead,
to say
go
I
ahead.
appreciate this, and I was just going to show support for this, because when I was personally hit by a car, and I feel that is why I try to be a bike advocate now, because I was hit by a car over near Siler at that roundabout, and the people in the ambulance had actually declared that I was dead, but I arrived at the hospital and I was able to be brought back. And still today, it is it's categorized, stated. It's my when I was hit by the car, it's still called an accident. So I support what you are mentioning and saying, that the language is the most important thing that could be changed.
I don't disagree that the laws need to be stiffer and need to be enforced. I also was hit by a driver who I feel was not adequately punished, or didn't have the sort of consequences that I think would have been appropriate. However, from what I've read from studies, is that increasing the penalties isn't all that effective in lowering the number of crashes, because it's reactive and nobody goes out there intending to hit a bicyclist, or at least very few. And if they hit the bicyclist and then they're penalized, the bicyclist is still hit. And it's a reactive sort of punishment. So what we need to do is prevent the crash. I'm sorry, I called it accident. I meant to say crash. What we want to do is do things that prevent the crash from occurring in the first place. And that, I think, has more to do with engineering our roads to make drivers drive more slowly and to improve the visibility. Again, I don't oppose increasing penalties. I'm just not convinced that it's going to be effective in reducing the number of crashes.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but my impression was Ms. Sola's concern was more of the lack of justice as opposed to preventing future crashes.
I agree with her. There is a lack of justice. I believe there is an institutional bias against bicyclists and pedestrians on the part of law enforcement and the courts. And that is unjust, and it's infuriating. But ultimately, what we want to do is prevent crashes so that people aren't injured and killed. And I don't know that increasing penalties is effective in doing that.
I wonder if, I mean, I think there could be an educational role here that could speak to the prevention issue. I know for a while there was, and it may still be in existence, a campaign to look for motorcycles. Does anybody remember that? Something like We're Everywhere. I can't even remember what it was. I do feel like there is an educational role, there's probably an engineering role, and there is an enforcement role. And if we think about what we have control over in the BPAC, we can certainly take on some education and advocacy if we want to see penalties increased. I think the engineering thing is a role that our technical review committee plays regularly. And you guys do a great job of that. Maybe there's something that could be done differently or done more of, I don't know. But I was thinking of the motorcycle campaign when you were talking. And I don't know if that's been effective at all. I don't know anything about it.
I unfortunately will be out of town next week when the Public Safety Committee meets again, but at the following month, hopefully if there's a Public Safety Committee meeting, I could bring this up as a discussion point. That involves police departments there, fire departments there. And hopefully we'd have a good discussion about, without getting into the exact facts of the case that's been presented to us, just some more generalities of why are some of these crashes, why are the perpetrators being let off so easily? I mean, that's one place we can get some discussion going on. Harry?
Maybe this sounds a little cynical, but I think the reason the perpetrators are let off so easily is because every cop, every prosecutor, and every judge is an automobile driver, and few of them are bicyclists. And most automobile drivers are not very skilled, including these people I mentioned. And every one of them has had the experience where at the last second they saw a bicyclist and they hadn't noticed them before because they're simply not paying enough attention while they drive. And so they have sympathy for other drivers who mess up that way. And there needs to be less sympathy for drivers who don't pay attention.
I can appreciate that, Ed. Someone take a U-turn right in front of me today as I'm riding down with my flashing headlight and my bright yellow windbreaker. I'm like, how could you not possibly see me? But apparently they did not. Judith and then Angela.
So, Tony, you talked about working with DMB. And I wonder if there is a role here for them when people get their license or renew their license or take a driving test or whatever. Because I got my license a million years ago and I don't know how much things have changed, but it's all about the driving. I mean, you're supposed to look for other cars and stuff, but there was not a lot of awareness decades ago about sharing the roads. And, you know, the thing that I remember is if a ball rolls across the road, there's probably going to be a little kid that runs after it. But times have changed with more people cycling and stuff. And I just wonder if there is a potential to work with DMB.
You've all heard on the radio, they have a announcement, talking about walking home. Oh, sorry. The current, it's an announcement on the radio. I hear it a lot and have for the last few years. It's a pedestrian. She's walking home. She was thinking about dinner and she didn't see the car coming. And then the driver's like, I was, doing this and I never saw her. And that's an ad that's on the radio right now all the time. And that's for pedestrian safety. But I'm just going to add something in that has really, I'm more than distraught at just how freaking large vehicles have now become. And trucks they're just scary and dangerous. And the front, I mean, they're higher even. And there's got to be safety data that's coming out on this. I think I saw one. I mean, it's unbelievable that cars are allowed to be that big from a fossil fuel industry standpoint alone, but that they're so big. And I have a Honda Fit, and it's just like, I don't stand a chance out there. But that's neither here nor there. It's the engineering, it's the culture, it's, it's all of this. But education, I guess, is one thing that to get to drivers about, but it's not strong enough.
Discussion. Thank you all. I said I'll bring this up to the Public Safety Committee at least, and we'll go from there. See, maybe get some feedback then on, do laws need to be changed, or is it simply a matter of not enforcing existing laws, and I think the best ways to raise awareness and et cetera. Okay, thank you. Thank you all. For next item. Oh, Senate Bill SB 73, the Idaho stop. Is everyone familiar with what the Idaho stop is? So it's making some progress, and we had been approached. I got approached by a member of the Seniors on Bikes about getting BPAC to write a letter. And I said, well, I can't do that outside of the rest of the committee. So I guess I had the question raised this evening, would BPAC like to submit a letter support legislature?
I will volunteer to write a letter.
Very good. Gary?
I just mean to, I would support that sort of thing. I'm just not sure if that's within the purview of our responsibilities as an advisory committee to the city.
Good question. Anyone have thoughts on that? It did cross my mind.
We have written letters before, and I'm trying to remember what they were for, and Michael usually ended up signing them. But they may have been more in support of funding applications or something like that. I'm not sure if we have the authority, but I sure would like to see us do something like that. I think it would be appropriate, but I don't know if it's appropriate. But I would like to see it. It's an advocacy role, right?
Yes, Member Gabriel, and I remember, I don't know if anyone remembers, but when we were working on the e-bike ordinance, and the state work on the e-bike ordinance, I think Member Eisenstein and Member Spencer went to the public hearing to support the state's e-bike ordinance. I'm not quite sure, but we did not write a letter to support the bill. As far as I remember, we never wrote a letter, but I don't think, I think it's still in the resolution that you're the city's advocates for bicycle and pedestrian safety.
Happy to write the letter and just run it to council. Let it.
I was just looking at the duties and responsibilities in our resolution, and item I is advise on policies, projects, ordinances, and funding as they relate to bicycling and walking as safe, equitable, viable, and comfortable mode of transportation. Let's see. Okay, so I understand, Eric?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. So the session's halfway over. So we would need to make a motion to write a letter that we asked Tony to write a letter and request Councilor Garcia's signature that BPAC supports adoption of SB 73. And so I believe we would have to do that. The other thing I think that is important is butts in seats. When there are a large number of people in committee rooms, the legislators see that and understand that. I don't think folks have to wear yellow jackets and helmets, but it is something that they really do respond to because they care about the constituents. And if it is possible, whoever is tracking SB 73 the problem is they say it's going to be held tomorrow morning at 8:30 in Senate Finance or wherever it is. But if either someone from like Santa Fe can alert folks, and if people are available to be able to go over and sit in that and, raise your hand if they ask you, you're in support. A lot of times it's a waste of time, but because of the legislature runs on a weird clock, but it might be useful. But I think we would want to make a motion to write a letter in support so we can provide it as soon as possible. Thanks.
Judith and then Gary.
So my question is who the letter goes to, because my understanding is that they will go through certain committees and it's important to know who's on the committees. Is it a generic letter that we then submit to each committee as it goes through? How would we go about doing that?
The bill has already been through the Transportation Committee and it's next to go to the Senate Judiciary Committee. My understanding is that if it passes Judiciary, it'll go to the floor. So I think the letter would be to the Senate Judiciary Committee at this point. And my other question is, we can draft a letter, saying BPAC supports this, but can we recommend that the city draft a letter saying the city supports this bill?
Sure we can, but I agree with Eric's comment there. I think we're running out of time.
Okay.
City to do that. So did you actually make a motion, Eric? You want to put your volunteering in the form of a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that this committee draft a letter of support of Senate Bill 73 and approach Councilor Garcia for approval, and with approval, send it off to the appropriate bodies in the legislature.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
It's being really annoying. Can you just give a little quick synopsis of why it's called the Idaho stop?
I think Idaho was the first state to allow this. Basically, treat a stop sign as a yield sign. You can proceed onto an intersection on a red light if it's safe to do so, rather than sit there and wonder why the sensors don't pick you up and pay for the second time during the day.
I did speak on behalf of this bill in the Senate Tax, Business and Transportation Committee, and they actually only allowed 3. There were quite a few of us there that were ready to speak, including a retired circuit court judge, appellate judge. But they only allowed 3 of us to speak, which was a little unusual. But in preparing for that, I found out there are 12 states that have this kind of bill. And in every single state, they've seen a reduction in accidents. There's data, crashes, excuse me. They have some data to support that. And in 2 of those states, Oregon and Delaware, see what's it, that they have actual numbers to support that.
Delaware crashes were reduced by 23% at intersections, which is tremendous.
I also rode one of the New Mexico Department of Transportation analysis of this bill. And they raised a concern that although there's not an appropriation attached, whether it's going to cost any money, which it shouldn't, but they raised the concern that it may increase insurance liabilities and tort claims. I don't know if that's going to carry in water or not, but so anyway, it's in the judiciary. It's not yet been assigned, checked, but anybody can check, see when it's held, and Eric is right. There's no guarantee that day, but we'll check.
Mela?
Mr. Chair, the Idaho stop is actually in the bicycle, no, lab, League of American Bicyclists application that we did. And we could not check it off because we don't have Idaho stop.
This is a more formal motion. Could we call a roll call vote, please?
Member Abo,
Yes.
Member Board Gray,
Yes.
Member Gabriel, Member Gerlix, Member Pengili,
Yes.
Member Miller,
Yes.
Chair Pilcher. Motion passes.
The appellate court judge who was there was Lynn Pickard, member SOBs, and she did take issue. I don't know if you saw a little blurb, excuse me, the following day in the newspaper, but the reporter talked about letting cyclists blow through stop signs, and she responded back to him like, that's not what this law says at all. It takes a very negative connotation. I know my brother, who does not live in the state, when I commented to him about this, said, how come you guys get to do that? We don't get to as drivers. So anyways, the blow through is kind of a value loaded term. That's right. Okay, item 8A, Policy Planning and Law Committee. We have nothing to report for me. E, Promotions, Education, and Communications. Judith, anything to report?
Just a couple of things. We will be having a table at the Cañada Rincon trail opening tomorrow. Unless it's pouring and snowing, then I'm not going to be there. And also I had talked to Bill about being at the cleanup on April 12th, so I plan to be there. As always, other members are welcome to help staff those tables. Our webpage is almost finally done. It's been an extremely frustrating experience, and I know the communication staff have been, they're understaffed and overwhelmed, but it's pretty much done. The only thing that is still not complete from my perspective, there are a bunch of photographs on there. I took most of them. We are looking for more diversity in our photographs. I talked to Leah about it tonight to see if MPO can help us out. We're looking for racial and ethnic diversity, age diversity, ability diversity. We want to show a variety of people using the trails. So again, if anybody has any photos, that would be helpful to make our little photo album be a little bit more robust. The city will take the pictures. I was under the misunderstanding that they would go out and take pictures. And they're happy to do that, but we have to set up the photo shoot. So in other words, if we want them to take pictures of somebody on a trail using a wheelchair, we have to arrange for that. So if you know of anybody who can help with this, please let me know. And I would like to probably present the web page at the next meeting. I'm very sorry that I made everybody submit photographs and I harassed people for months and now I find out that they don't like to put photos on the webpage. That's for our privacy and our protection. So now we have a bunch of nice pictures. You guys, if you have any suggestions what to do with them. But I am excited to see this coming to fruition and I like the way it came out and I appreciate all the help, Romella, you've given and other staff members as well.
Just want to congratulate our committee, but you both or all of us on the website. It's I've been on it. It says nothing. You can't find the meeting. There's nothing about meeting announcements. Nothing. Nothing. There's nothing there.
When?
Well, I haven't seen it. When did
Okay.
it go up? Is it gone up?
It is in
Oh,
place now.
Good. Oh,
I
okay.
didn't want to share it until we maybe
Okay.
got more photographs. If we don't get them by the next month, we should have it at the meeting anyway. Because just click on here. Get access to.
So it just happened.
Thank you, Judith. Technical review subcommittee.
Thanks very much. So the only thing we discussed was that Montezuma Sandoval meeting since the last time, and so we eagerly await reviewing other projects. Thanks.
Miss Member Abo, wayfinding also.
Yes. Sorry, I did. I think I was the only one from the group that was able to meet with Gene and Tim. I think Tim is under contract to do wayfinding, and so I believe that there's a phase 2 that's currently underway that'll put additional signage, and it's really this way, that way kind of signage. One of the things that was discussed, which I think touches on what we previously talked about, was there are some signs that that are not really useful that currently exist. I believe, and I'm not sure exactly where it is, but there's a sign that says, "Hey, watch out, don't go into the street," because the cars are not going to see you going across this. Instead of putting a stop sign up, there's kind of a little narrative that is up. And so, yeah, I'm not sure where that is, but a stop, right. And so we talked really about trying to standardize, and I agree. I think that Gene is really focusing on improving the kind of the engineering chops of public works in the traffic realm, and so that's really beneficial. I'm not sure. I had to bail from that, if I remember correctly, from that wayfinding thing. So I'm not sure what the implementation schedule is for phase 2, but I think it's sometime soon. It's this fiscal, right?
I'm not quite sure when Tim can deliver the plan sets, but I think he sent some drafts.
Okay, great.
2 weeks ago.
Thanks.
Hey, any matters from staff? Oh, sorry, Gary.
Also, in terms of the technical review committee, on January 17th, I attended a meeting with the engineers who are working on the Henry Lynch Agua Fria area. And I advocated for a buffered bike lane, and they said they will also consider modified rumble strip.
Sorry, my mind is just doesn't know what everybody's doing. Thanks.
Yeah, matters from staff?
Cañada Rincon opening tomorrow. And I asked the city clerk, we don't need to put post a notice of meeting, even though if all the members of BPAC are there, we are in the events calendar. So we are advertising it as an event. So it's snow, rain, or shine. We will have the grand opening at 11 o'clock. The lunch is provided by Wilson HO Construction and City of Santa Fe. Our, our administrative manager gave us some funding to use for the grand opening. 50 people RSVP that they are coming, even though it's a weekday. And that doesn't include city staff, Wilson, HO Construction. So those 50 people are just coming, and it's member of the public. The event will be videoed, and hopefully the weather is good tomorrow to fly the drone, so that the drone will be flown through, to cover the whole trail, and a video will be developed, as well as photographs. Mayor will be there, Councilor Lindell, representing District 1, and she's also the pro tem. Of course, our Councilor Michael Garcia, Chair of BPAC, and Councilor Romero Worth. Those are the all yes, and maybe from Councilor Castro and Councilor Cassett. Thank you.
Okay, any matters from the committee?
Mr. Chair, I just want to mention something. I saw a legal ad in the New Mexican that the County of Santa Fe has issued an invitation for bids for construction for some trail segments, and I just want to read through this just so you know. This is the Arroyo Hondo Trail, which is near the Rancho Viejo station, and so there's an ITB that is currently out for 1.2 mile concrete multi-use trail segment connecting Rancho Viejo Fire Station trailhead to the Turquoise Trail Sports Park off of NM 14, and also segment 3, 1.6 mile long concrete multi-use trail from connection with existing trail northwest of Rancho Viejo Fire Station to Richards Avenue and extensions at Avenida del Sur. So the county is evidently has the funding and is putting some money into the multi-use trails to integrate with new work on Richards. And so if I don't think anybody's interested in submitting a bid, but I thought you guys would be interested in knowing about this. And I think that it's a 360-day construction period. So they're going to give them less than a year to get it all done. So just thought useful. Thanks. Invitation to bid. So it's basically their solicitation process.
Nothing further from the chair, other than thank you for your patience this evening. Our next meeting, 4 weeks from tonight, March 13th. There's nothing else, we will adjourn. It's about 7:40, it looks like. Thank you all.